Composite Gloves here, and this is the 6th video in the Harmor from the Ground Up tutorial series. And today we're going to be talking about the blur knob section thing. And we're just going to talk about this individually, and we're going to talk about its relative. There's one envelope for it, and it won't be that hard to explain if you grasp the first ones. And it is the blur. If we go here, you can right click a thing, and it should have edit articulator. There it is, edit articulator, and there it is, harmonic blur amount. It's in here, blur local mask. All right, and any of the ones that I forget to cover at the moment, I will siphon out and cover them, especially if you guys point them out like near the end of the series, like, hey, you didn't cover this envelope, what the heck? And I'll go back and I'll make a video for it. So what is blur? Well, first we need to get a solid grip on what blur does. So right now we have this. Oh, I have my frequency on. And this is sort of like the volume envelope, except for the fact that the volume, so if we turn our volume on, it fades in and fades out according to our envelope. Well, this could do the same thing, but without the volume. And it can do it, but you have to be holding down a note for it to work. So for example, the mix is how much our blur is affected. So if we turn it all the way on, it's completely affected. And then if we turn our blur time on, it will now, it's basically like telling it that there's an attack phase. And so you can hit a note, but wait, you don't really hear anything. There's kind of a really fast envelope, but it's a lot easier to hear when we turn it up first more. And so that's our attack. But then we have one for the release too. And so when we release a note, but it just stops. Well, this is a lot easier to show when we have some sort of a frequency moving while we're holding our note down, because it'll take frequencies away and put them back up, right? But these will now, it'll also trigger the blur. So if we, for example, I'm going to hit a note and I'm going to bring the cutoff down. As I do that, these frequencies, these upper ones, should just be taken away. Instead, you'll hear them fade out as a result of the blur release time, because it's basically saying this note's no longer there, release it, and the blur will say, whoa, 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 you gotta wait for it to decay out. And so the attack will be heard either way. But so let's do that. And you see they have to fade in. So if we turn this up to be a really long and this really long, and we move our filter around, it's going to take forever for this cutoff to do its job. My filter's totally on. These frequencies shouldn't be there at all. Like when I hit new notes, nothing there. Well, maybe a little bit of the fundamental. So that is what that is. So now that you understand that, we have harmonic blur, which is essentially, instead of blurring it from like left to right, this blurs it up and down. So it's just like all the frequencies at the same time. But it's relative to these two guys here. This is the upper half of the spectrum, how much power this harmonic blur has over that. This is the lower half. So if we turn the blur on there, you see, and if we take these way down, they behave differently because we've weighted it differently. Plus we have these on, so that might be a little confusing for you. So yes. I hope you understood that. So now we're going to talk about so we have the blur mask, which is down here, local blur mask. So this basically will protect certain frequencies from our blur. So if we turn our blur like way up, but we say not the bass, man, don't do it. So, and not, well, most of it, I guess, just the upper end will be protected. We just want these octaves protected. These, yeah, they're octaves in this case, they're not partials. And this is again the amount the blur can affect. So when we do this, but you see our upper, well, I guess is the opposite. These ones, no, yeah, these ones are not affected by the blur, so they went right away. But these top ones are protected, and so they are still there. You'll also notice when we hit a new note, though, that it doesn't care what the blur says. It's going to let it go. So that's the big difference between the volume option and this option, besides the fact that we're using filter movement. And I thought there was one more So that's the blur mask. There should be a blur mix, if I'm not mistaken. It should be somewhere. It's funny how when you look at menus like this, you can't find what you want. Phaser mix. Well, if there is a blur mix, which I'm pretty sure there is, but right now it escapes my eyes. If there isn't, then there isn't. That's what the blur local mask does. Maybe it's the mask that I'm thinking of. If there is a blur mix, it'll do the exact same thing, but only for the mix. So we can also turn our mix down. And so that's the blur in a nutshell. When we talk about the pluck's a unique setting that we have going on here. It's actually got some effect on the blur, but we're going to talk about it when we reach the pluck part of the section. So just keep the blur in mind for that. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Let's make a really quick sound. I almost didn't make a sound. So we're going to do chords because this is going to be long pad sounds. Let's make a square wave, and let's turn our thing off. We're going to turn the mix all the way on because we want a lot of blur. You know what? I like that already. I haven't explained this, but turn your reverb on and turn your chorus on to like 4 and leave the spread about half. And I kind of like that. Turn the speed down. That sounds good to me. And go ahead and turn your unison on over here. Take the phase and the pitch variation down and leave the panning where it is. And I like that. As you can see, we have a nice stereo image. So now we're going to move our filter around. I guess this would be sort of like a future bass type deal. So let's go ahead. This is a good chance to make chord progressions too, I guess. Let's go really quick, make some chord progressions. So we're going to start on, hey, this could be a good lead too. We're going to have our bass notes. I'm going to do A or G sharp, I guess, because to me, I'm thinking A flat. C, E flat. We're going to move the C up. And we're going to move. This is a really weird chord voicing, but whatever. Now we're going to go to E flat or D sharp, which would be, we're going to put a G and then a B flat. And we'll call that good. That's all we're going to do. We're not doing like a crazy huge chord progression lesson. So much for the lesson. And we're going to move our filter around. But we're going to move it around really fast so that our blur has a chance to shine. So I'm a big fan of the up, down, wah, 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 wah method. It's that's the official term for the method. In case you didn't know, it's the wah, 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 wah method. I'm pretty sure it's in a music textbook somewhere. 20th century music theory, production theory. So we should have this now. Hey, that's pretty cool. So really quick, I want to take this and go down a half step and just drag it down cheater's way because we don't really have a track going, so I don't need to think too hard about notes. And let's do this. That's pretty cool. I've noticed that it's coming pretty heavily out my left side. Did I get this right? Should this be a C? I'm pretty sure what the heck is going on here. Nope, that's right. It's just weird because of the voicing. Just really weird voicing. Yeah, it's coming way heavy out the left side. That's weird. I'm just gonna pan it, fix it. It's because of the way I've done this over here, and it's the way the chorus is doing its job. Turn the mix down, turn the spread down on the chorus. Anyways, that's the sound. Pretty cool sound. You could probably layer that with a few variations on the same sound and you get some cool results. And it's because of our blur, and you can hear the thing going on. Now, notice it's only in the upper end because of that weird envelope blur mask shape we made. So we could easily variate it by maybe adding in some sparkle low and mid frequencies like so. And we could turn our mix down and the release time to be quite a bit shorter. So you still get that tone as like a drone, but the same tone is also the source of our sound, of our rhythm. So that's pretty cool. Kind of a dual purpose in one type thing. If you have any questions, again, drop in the comments. I think that's like the third time I said that. Subscribe if you enjoy these videos. And if you're wearing a t-shirt with a word on it, you should put that comment, the word on your shirt, down in the comments. Or if it's a picture, you should describe it in the comments to everyone. Person with the best picture should get liked up to the very top. As long as it's not an inappropriate picture, I have a feeling that one's going to somehow reach the top without any competition. And then it will become this gross competition. So don't do that. And have a blessed day.